Okay, Victoria Rose.
Hi.
I believe that men should be leaders in a relationship.
What do you mean by leaders, like in the relationship?
When it comes to making major decisions and taking responsibility for the consequences of those decisions, I think it's more natural for that to fall on the man's shoulders than for a woman. I think that a relationship is likely to be healthier and more long-lasting if men take on that responsibility in that leadership position, because women will prefer it and men will feel more comfortable.
Well, I disagree because I don't think I've ever met a man competent enough to do that. like I know that men are stereotypically stronger and more directive, and they're built up in society with more confidence. But because of their false confidence, they actually don't have the competence behind it. So,
do you think that would have been true 60 years ago?
No, I think 60 years ago they probably would have been very good at leading a relationship because of the way society is and the way it was structured with commerce and inheritance and upbringing. Women were very much kept in a home domain and men were taught how to be men. But nowadays, I'd love a man who actually knew how to change a light bulb.
Yeah, sure. So it's less of an objection to the idea of men leading in a relationship, but it's more like, given the current state of masculinity being so poor, that you just, on a practical level, don't really see that being a good solution.
No, I think whoever, with equality now, I mean, we aren't equal in many respects, but we should have the ability to be equal. But with the way that equality is in society now, it should be whoever is best at leading. So it's not a matter of male or female, it's a matter of whoever is most adept.
So I understand what you're saying. My perspective would be that even if a woman is better at leading, because of the natural gender roles, the relationship isn't going to work if she has to take on that responsibility, because she's not going to respect a man if he's following her, and so the relationship is doomed. You might have a couple of good years, you might make it through couples counseling and reach some kind of terrible compromise situation, but ultimately, because it goes against what's nature's intended, the relationship is going to fail. What do you think of that?
In many ways that sounds right, because I don't know why. Cavemen, I guess, cavemen in Disney, women need to be saved and looked after and helped by men in ways, and so it is hard to respect or be with a man who is less than you, in less than. But at the same time, I think I've lost half of what you said.
So that's okay. So I think that we diagnose the same problem. There's almost a crisis of masculinity in that men basically are not competent to lead, and that's been your experience in relationships, or at least watching your friends.
They are competent enough to lead, but then they're egotistical or rude or manipulative, or it comes along with all of those other attributes.
Like a package deal of negativity.
Yeah.
I've seen that, yeah, for sure.
If a man's strong enough, he's also douchey.
Okay, so you can either go the nice guy who's kind of weak, or the tough guy but he's kind of a prick.
Yeah, stereotypically, but it seems to be quite true.
Okay, so let's see if we can find some common ground on what I would say the solution is, because it seems as though society's solution so far has been that if men aren't going to step up and lead, all right, then women, we have to do it. We need to take those reins. And I think that's a disastrous solution, and that's what's behind the high divorce rate, high single rate, people responding to things like trying polyamory because they're just not getting their needs met inside a regular monogamous relationship. And I would say the actual solution, and the one that I try and promote on my channel, is that men need to embrace their masculinity in a positive way, not overcorrecting and becoming pricks, but become the kind of leader and respectable man that women will want to be in a relationship with. And if we can encourage the next generation of men to really take on that leadership role and embrace their masculinity instead of trying to be all feminine and woke and progressive, then we're actually going to fix this problem and people will be happier again.
I think in many ways that's really good. I don't think it fits every case, because there are a lot of very strong women who want to be with weaker men, and there are a lot of women who are on the inside as able and as identifiable as a man. There's trans and gay and a lot of other acronyms. But when it just comes to a typical male-female relationship, if men could lead and be strong and be the more typical man while still having the ability to communicate and negotiate and respect women, I don't think it's ever going to work if it goes back to women are at home and men are at work and there's jobs and I'm a man and I cut wood. I don't think that's ever going to work because
we've come too far.
Yeah, you guys went to work and we went to war. You guys went to war and we went to work, and that was kind of the end of it.
I don't think it'll look like it does in the past. I think it does need to look like something new, and we might not know what that looks like yet. But I think that even if there is an equal amount of income potentially coming in, there just needs to be some area where men are basically like, hey, I've got this, because women will then feel safe. Do you mind if I just go back to, you said that there's a large amount of women who would prefer to be the leader in a relationship. They like being the strong women. Are you thinking like outliers, 1% kind of thing? Or are you thinking a sizable portion of the population?
I'm thinking maybe 5% of the population.
Okay. And you think that they genuinely want to do that? It's not like just an adaptive coping mechanism in response to poor experiences, or?
No, I don't think it's an adaptive thing, because I think then if they did have a strong man next to them, they would then go back into the habits of being the woman. But I think there are quite a few women who are just born, raised and inspired to be both male and female. Like, I was brought up by a single mum, I was dad. So I cut the wood, I helped lino the floor. So my upbringing made me as much of a man as if I had a brother, he would be. But at the same time, I think I would still prefer a partner to be stronger than me and support me.
But you can see how some women in your position might not have that.
Yeah, I think there would still be some women who do want to be the boss.
I would say that what's happened, like in your situation, is, like, you obviously seem very well adjusted, but it's sad because you should have had a strong male role model like growing up, and you shouldn't have ideally been raised by a single mother. I don't know what the circumstances are, but you know, all the research shows that having a mother and a father is obviously going to be better. You've got two parents, it's better than one, both genders, so you've got kind of a balance. And so I would feel sorry for those women if they felt that because of the role that they had to play as children in a household that wasn't ideal, they also felt the need to carry on that pattern into their relationships. And they might tell themselves and other people, hey, I really want to be strong. But actually, deep down, there's still a little girl who's wishing that somebody was actually just taking care of the business, the masculine side, so they could have been free to be a little girl.
But is that also society? Is that society, and there's that Disney and all of those things, and schools and parenting that's doing that? I mean, I met a guy on a plane once who told me his daughter was devastated, absolutely horrified when she got 90% in her test. And his son, got 60 and was like, yeah, I passed. And like, we're held to different standards, and that's some of the problem as well. But what's to say that in society we aren't meant to be the boss? Like,
so I believe it's biology. So the idea that women are more sort of submissive and men more dominant as a purely social construct is not something I believe. I think that if you go back into evolution, even if you just look at the animal kingdom, you look at monkeys and our closest relatives, you'll find that there's a sort of dominance hierarchy where men take on a leadership role. And so the sort of social constructivist perspective is this is just society, it's come out of nowhere, and men and women are blank slates and we're all the same, and if it were not for cultural conditioning, we would have a completely different society. I don't think it's true. I think as human beings, we're born with certain instincts, specifically masculine instincts, specifically feminine instincts. Like, you just look at what happens to women if you start injecting them with testosterone, they become very different. And the same goes with men if you ingest them with estrogen. And so just naturally, we have very different amounts of these chemicals, and that's what's to account for these differences, not just society. What do you think?
So you're saying it's not societal, but it's chemical?
I think that society, although I agree it reinforces these stereotypes, I think that they were born from biology. That's why we have them,
Right. So, well, in that case, I guess lions, women do all the work and they kill everything and feed everybody, but men are the boss. in a lion society. I'm not sure about monkeys.
It's different. Like gorillas are different to bonobos, which are different to chimps, and so forth.
But I think, yeah, when it comes down to it, I would like a man who was a respectful leader. But I think the way that it's worded needs to be very, very careful so that it doesn't become like a sexist issue, because there is equality now, or there's the striving for equality. But I also think we do need to remember that we are different. Like, depending on the time of month, I'm sad. I'm just sad. Men, they're just oblivious all month round. They're just like, yeah, I'm fine all month round. And so is it really good for me to be making decisions like 2 times a month? I don't know. I'd actually love to go on decision vacation 2 weeks of the month. That would be amazing.
I did a video on this one. I'll link it down below. And there was a study on how women's decision making changes based on where they are in their ovulation cycle. Fascinating, really, really fascinating.
So cool.
But I think that we have found agreement, because I agree that it's a good idea for men to be like a benevolent leader, you know, very respectful, very kind. What you don't want is a tyrant or a dictator.
Absolutely.
And I think that there are women who get nervous when they hear me say something like men should be leaders in the relationship, because they may have had negative experiences and they think I'm talking about a tyrant. And I'm very much not. I'm talking about the kind of leader that people want to follow, an elected leader, so to say. So she's like, yep, I vote for you to be my husband. I vote for you to be my leader.
Yeah, I agree. I think it takes a lot of communication still, and a lot of negotiating, and an alignment of values where you're happy for that person to stand up for what you believe, like, unlike politics. But it's just something that's a bit dangerous, I think, because with power comes responsibility, and I don't think a lot of men in this society can handle that gracefully.
I agree. And this is what we need to change. You know, we need to encourage men to take responsibility more and to do it well.
Yeah. If there's a man out there who does it well, that's great.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you so much.